Last week I talked about the proposed tax on the 700 billionaires in the United States, and as I predicted, it's already been tossed out of the proposal as a way to fund the roughly $2 trillion infrastructure plan that President Biden has out there. But that doesn't take away from the fact that income inequality in general has been talked about a whole lot more recently. I did, at the beginning of this year, publish an article in the Gazette that looked at this three different ways. I was quite curious if this is all hype or if it's really as bad as people think it is. The first way was the sort of traditional income inequality, and that one showed that the top 1% have an average income of about $2 million a year, and they make up about 21% of the total income in the United States, whereas the bottom 20% have an average income of $21,300, and they only make up about 3% of the United States total income. The next one I looked at was just wages and salaries. That one was pretty stark too, showing that the top 1% earned about 16% of the total wages and salaries in the United States, whereas the bottom 50%, the bottom half, earned even a little less than that at 15% of the total wages and salaries. But then I looked at it one more way, and that's wealth. And I think this may be the best way to incorporate what's actually going on, because here we're talking about all the money people have in bank accounts, their houses, their cars, all their assets, minus the debt that they owe. And this one was really stark as well. It showed that the top 1% of Americans had 31% of the total wealth, whereas the bottom 50% only had 3% of the total wealth. Just to put this in context, the top 1% have 36 trillion in total wealth, whereas the national debt is 28 trillion. So they could actually pay the national debt and still have 8 trillion left over. Not that they should, but it kind of puts it in context. So next week I'm going to talk about the mechanisms that some of the wealthiest individuals may use in order to pay an effective tax rate that is actually lower than the average American.